Good morning, everyone. We are now in our final unit within the semester, and I just want to congratulate all of you guys for making it this far. So I just wanted to go over some regular housekeeping stuff right here, just to remind you guys of some upcoming assignments, because I get it. I'm at the end of my semester as well, while doing clinical rotations, and I just want to be out of the hospital at this point and go on a little vacation. So I understand assignments at the end of the semester just take a lot of energy to go through, but we're almost there. I swear, we're almost there. We're almost done. So you have 2 assignments on the 28th, your practice exercise, and then your embryonic fetal development video quiz. This one, to my knowledge, it is open notes. Let me see here. Yeah. You can take the quiz after reading the article and then taking the notes, and then you can take the quiz. It is open notes, so you are able to take it independently without help from any peers, just from the notes that you've taken from the video. Again, please watch this video, take your notes, write down stuff, answer these questions right here, and then go on to answer the quiz. Now back to the calendar. Then we have your first reproductive lab quiz here on April 30th. Then your practice exercise again on May 5th. For the reproductive system of male and female, and then you have your discussion on Tuesday like always. Make sure to provide a link to a resource that's outside of what we're giving you guys here, and then just give like a nice little breakdown of how you one of the answers to the study guide. And then on May 7th you have your quiz 1 and 2 for the male, the reproductive lecture right there. And then on May 11th, if I can get it to pop up here, on May 11th you have your on May 13th you have your final exam. So just keep all these assignments right here in mind. I know it feels like a lot, but we're almost towards the end, I swear. Okay, now if you go here into the reproductive diagrams, you're going to be able to find these guys right here. For this one right here, for the male reproductive, I suggest using it as a way to break down as a study tool the sperm pathway, so starting down in testes into all the sections of it, and explains like where does that sperm start off, where is it produced, where does it mature, where does it travel to get all through here and out outside of the penis. And similarly with the female reproductive system, go in and do a diagram of this. I know this is more like a side view of it, or like a diagonal view of this stuff right here. Something that a lot of the time students will get confused on just because they get stressed out, or they're just like so focused on other stuff while taking the test, or just get a little nervous, is they'll confuse the uterus right here, and the vagina with the urethra and the bladder. Since the structures are very close together, they're easy to get confused and stuff like that sometimes for students, depending on how stressed they are. But just remember the vagina, urethra, urinary bladder, uterus right here, and all its layers. And you can see here an ovary and a fallopian tube as well. And another study tool that I recommend using here is this view of the uterus. You can honestly start it off from here, where explaining where the mature egg will travel to and stuff like that. Making a diagram of all the structures right here, the layers of the uterus, the endometrium, myometrium, and perimetrium, cervix, and then stuff like that. And then you can also make like a side note of oogenesis, talking about the formation of the female reproduction cell, how it starts off within embryonic development and then stops for a minute, and then like once puberty hits, that's when like it triggers it again, stuff like that. And then talk about how it comes out of here from the ovary and travels into the fallopian tubes, and then also talk about like the sections that break up the fallopian tubes, and explain where exactly does implantation occur, because implantation does not occur over here. Once the egg is over here and there is sperm present and implantation does occur, it's just going to come over here and go through that blastocyst cycle right there. So implantation has to occur over here within the fallopian tubes in what section. So when you're doing your study guide and you've printed this out, make sure to make note of like the sections of the fallopian tube and where that implantation is going to occur and stuff like that. You could also even add the hormones that are going to influence some of the stuff, like an oogenesis or ovulation or the menstrual cycle. Talk about that. There's some other diagrams that I'm going to show you that I used that helped me out, at least when trying to map out menstruation and stuff like that. But we're going to start off with the male reproductive. For the first part, it's male reproductive is a lot more easier to summarize than the female reproductive, just because there was a lot going on in the female reproductive compared to the male reproductive. Okay, so recap on some of these hormones. There's going to be the female sex hormones and the male sex hormones. The names are similar within the follicle stimulating hormone and the gonadotropin releasing hormone and stuff like that, but there's going to have different effects within the male and female reproductive system. So I highly recommend going back to within your endocrine unit, seeing what we wrote down there, and then growing upon it here within the reproductive units. This is just a quick recap of that. Just go back and review and add on to what we have discussed within this lecture and breaking down that information. Some other ones that I know a lot of students will get confused with, again, since the beginning of the semester, prolactin and oxytocin. Prolactin is going to just target the mammary glands for that milk production. Again, remember when in the beginning of the semester I told you guys P for prolactin equals production? While oxytocin is going to be with ejection or the letdown of milk. So remember, O and oxytocin is out. And then again, this is that sperm pathway I was talking to you guys about, of when creating your notes of how that sperm is going to travel to. It's not just the testes. There's parts to the testes. We have the seminiferous tubules, the ret testes, and the efferent tubules. The seminiferous tubules are going to be where that sperm production is going to begin, and then that ret testes is the passageway to the efferent ductules, and the efferent tubules are going to be the passageways from the ret testes to the epididymis, and the epididymis is going to be that site of maturation, and it's kind of like this little comma or semicolon right here that comes around the testes and stuff like that. But yeah, this is just breaking down a little bit more easier of like the flow of sperm and stuff like that. So just remembering that and starting it from not just saying the testes, but breaking down those sections of the testes. You can also look through your reproductive lab notes. That's going to have more of that description of there on of what exactly each section within the anatomy does. Another study tool that you can do is focusing on a little page summary about the male puberty. So just talking about which hormones are going to be activated from the hypothalamus and being secreted to initiate that male puberty. So we have, again, follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormones. Follicle stimulating hormone is triggered by gonadotropin releasing hormone, along with luteinizing hormone is also going to be triggered by the release of gonadotropin releasing hormone. So for follicle stimulating hormone, it's going to just target those Sertoli cells to release androgen binding proteins and sperm production. While the luteinizing hormone within the male sex is just going to stimulate the Leydig cells or the interstitial cells to produce that testosterone. It's just going to lead to the production of testosterone and stuff like that. But yeah, just going into detailing your notes and talking about that on the effect of male puberty, and then also make sure to understand spermatogenesis and the name within each new variation and how many are splitting, and is it meiosis 1, meiosis 2, how many are being created. So we start off with just the primary germ cell, which then breaks up into either a type A or a type B, and then they just go through the differentiate. Type B was going to be the one that codes out, while type A is the one that's going to stay outside the blood testis barrier and just produce more of those daughter cells and stuff like that. There's some videos I believe that you can find on that may be explaining a little bit easier. I believe the diagram that Dr. K also gives you within your lecture notes is also a pretty nice one. Just breaking it down on the side and writing down your little summary notes and stuff like that and walking yourself through it. Again, just remembering the names. Spermatogenesis is what's occurring right here, the maturation of sperm. And then primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, after meiosis 2, then the spermatozoa is going to be that once the spermatids discard the cytoplasm and grow a tail to become the spermatozoa, and that's that mature sperm that's ready to for reproduction. Okay, now we're going to go into the female reproductive again. Make diagrams that are easier for you to visualize what exactly is going on. Text can only get you so far. If you're like a textual learner, wonderful. I wish I had that skill. Unfortunately, a lot of people need like a visual aid to make sense of what is going on within a textbook or the lecture notes or stuff like that. So this is something that helped me because it talks about the brain right here, what we learned, and within the endocrine system and how the hormones are released, and then it shows you right there where they're targeting specifically after they've been released and are circulating through the system. So we see the luteinizing hormone within the ovaries, follicle stimulating hormone within the ovaries as well, and then you can see it also right here. That ovulation occurrence right here in the ova, and once if fertilization has occurred, so formation of the zygote, and then implantation right here and the splitting and stuff like that, and then the implantation of the blastocyst, and then how estrogen and progesterone are going to affect the uterus and stuff like that. So you could really just take this image, print it out, and then write your notes based off of what we have has been said by Dr. Curley within the lecture the lecture videos or within the lecture slides and stuff like that. This is similar to the one that I showed you for the male puberty. Again, just breaking down that information into something that's a little bit more easier to digest right here, of those quick like recap notes and stuff like that. And then another one that just talks about ovulation right here and focusing on what exactly those hormones are going to do. So follicle stimulating hormone, like it is in the name, it's going to stimulate the follicular growth and stuff like that. So as we know, a lot of women are just born with all the eggs they're going to need within their lifetime and stuff like that, but they need to go through a stage of maturing. And so follicle stimulating is going to aid within that, and it's going to develop the ovum and produce that estrogen that is needed. And then luteinizing hormone, as you remember from the beginning of the semester, is going to stimulate the ovulation or that bursting of the follicle, and the follicle is going to then, that bursted follicle right here is going to then develop into the corpus luteum, which is going to produce that progesterone. And then again, breaking down what oogenesis and stuff like that is going to be another way I recommend of creating a study guide and a study notes. The one that Dr. Curley gives is a nice little image. When I first got it, I just like printed it out and wrote it on the side, but this one's a little prettier with at least color coding what is going on right there. So just breaking it down into the steps of what is occurring, and again remembering the names that each stage is going on. What exactly is it? Is meiosis 1, meiosis 2? What's the name of it? When is one starting? Is this the starting during embryonic development? Has it paused? When does it pick up again? During puberty, before puberty, or after puberty? Stuff like that. Writing down those within your notes is what's going to help you at least study this. And then menstrual cycle. The menstrual cycle, there's going to be the ovarian cycle, and then the uterine cycle, or the ovarian phase and uterine phase and stuff like that. This image I liked. This was shown to me by my previous SSS just because I thought it was silly. Like it's silly looking, so it sticks in your brain a little better than any text or graphs that you're going to see. And like, it might not seem like it's giving a lot of information, but if you can like pull up this image within your brain and connect it to the lecture, it's going to help you a lot within the test. I know I was imagining these little guys when I was taking my test. So like literally when it's showing the ovarian cycle, it's just showing that lower estrogen and how follicle stimulating hormone is going to influence that follicular phase of the growth of it. And then once it gets bigger, it's going to show how that estrogen is going to increase, triggering that luteinizing hormone, and that luteinizing hormone is what's going to trigger the ovulation. And then you see how it forms into the corpus luteum, and that increase in secretion of progesterone, and then it starts to decrease and like disappear, and you can see how this correlates also within like the uterine cycle and how that's influencing it. So the proliferation phase, when we have that in the beginning, you see like your period right here, and then the proliferation phase, it's going to be influenced by the estrogen, which you can see right here in the follicular phase. We have that increasing in estrogen as increasing in estrogen that's going to influence it into just thickening of the endometrium, and then ovulation is going to occur, and then it's going to lead to the secretion of progesterone, as we said, in the luteal phase. And that progesterone from the luteal phase is going to influence the secretory phase, and that's just going to become more, the lining is just going to become more like thicker and vascular, and then if there's no implantation that occurs, it's just going to lead to that to menstruation stuff, as you know. But yeah, if this silly little form doesn't work for you, you can do this circular chart. I know some students found this a little easier because they could visualize the days of the menstrual cycle and then break it down, and also see they showed the formation of the ovum and stuff like that in the corpus luteum. And then this one is probably the one that you're most used to seeing from within the lecture notes. Again, I like this image right here just because it was easier for me to figure it out, but also adding like some notes on the side summarizing exactly what was given within the lecture notes. This one's for the menstrual cycle, or the for the menstrual cycle's ovarian cycle, just focusing on that focusing right here on the ovarian growth, and breaking down what's going on between the follicular phase, the ovulation phase, and the luteal phase, and which days they are occurring on and stuff like that. And then menstrual cycle, or the menstrual cycle's uterine cycle, so this is just what's going to be occurring within the uterus and stuff like that. So we have menstruation, proliferation phase, and secretory phase. Menstruation is just going to be the shedding of that lining if no implantation has occurred. And then proliferation is just going to be the increasing growth, and secretory phase as well, stuff like that. And then noting what hormones are going to be influencing each of them. Same within the ovarian phase. Know what the hormones are going to be affecting within each of these phases and stuff like that. And then this is the one that's like given to you in class. This should be, yeah, fertilization. No, this is not the one. Hold on, let me find it. And then knowing as well, I'm creating like a little study tool that's going to talk about the hormones of pregnancy and what's occurring after pregnancy if fertilization does occur. So we have that human chronic gonadotropin, HCG, and that's just going to it's just going to support that the development of that fetus. So it's just going to supports the corpus luteum to continue estrogen and progesterone production, which is going to be needed for the first trimester. And it's also just, and the secretion of these hormones of like are going to be secreted from within different parts. So we're at the first trimester is going to be started from the progesterone and estrogen are going to be secreted from the ovaries, but then as the pregnancy continues on, it's going to be later on secreted from the placenta and stuff like that. I highly also recommend looking. Oh, this one was just to like show the blood vessels and stuff like that. There was something else. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Oh yeah, looking, I don't believe I have it anymore, the diagram that explained essentially how blood flow was from the umbilical cord to the fetus. I think that might have been in the beginning of the semester when we were talking about I think I might have had that image in the beginning of the semester when I was talking about the fetal heart and how it's different. But yeah, I don't know what happened to the other. I could have sworn there was another diagram here. Yeah, I will also just be sharing in these other videos that like explaining of the menstrual cycle and stuff like that with you guys. And then also just create a chart that talks about the external genital development, knowing, okay, this is in females and it becomes this in the males, like stuff. So the ovaries are the testes with the ovaries in females, are the testes in males. Labia majora in females is the scrotum in males and stuff like that, knowing what becomes what. And then also understanding what hormones lead, or what events are going to lead not hormones, what events are going to lead to this sexual differentiation. So my little cue of like remembering which duct leads to what for development of either female sex or male sex was mesophoric ducts, or the wolf ducts are the ones that are going to develop into male reproductive systems. So I always think of the M in that is for male, or the ME in that is for men. And the other one, if you see it as Wolfian ducts, I just think of Wolf, the boy who cried wolf. And the paramesophoric ducts, or the Mullerian ducts, develop into the female reproductive system. For that one, I unfortunately do not have like a little memory system, but if I can remember the mesophoric ducts and the Wolfian ducts are the ones that lead to male, like by process of elimination, I can see it's like, okay, I know it's not that leads to male, I know that one leads to female. And then, like, if you've taken a basic high school biology class, you already know that that's like the Y chromosome is going to lead to like the development of a male, because females have XX chromosomes, while males have XY chromosomes. If a Y chromosome is passed down, you will get that development of a male fetus. If everything is the atypical way, I know there's like different variations of sex chromosomes. That's a much deeper topic than we can go on to, but like for the basics, we're talking about the XX and the XY for within this unit right here for that development of the typical formation of the reproductive system. But the SRY gene, or the sex determining region of the chromosome, is going to be what codes in males is codes for protein for the protein TDF, or testis determining factor. So that's going to secrete testosterone from the leg dig and interstitial cells. It's also going to secrete Mullerian inhibiting factor, so from the Sertoli cells, and that's just going to degrade the Mullerian or paramesophaeric ducts, just to leave the mesopheric ducts or Wolffian ducts. So just remembering that if there's an absence of TDF and testosterone, female development and degradation of the male mesopheric ducts is going to occur. But if there is a presence of testosterone and AMH, which is the Mullerian inhibiting factor, or MIF, if that you want to use that abbreviation, or MIS for the Mullerian inhibiting factor. But yeah, if there's a presence of testosterone and Mullerian inhibiting factor, there's going to lead to male development and degradation of the paramesophaeric ducts. So just knowing that, again, you must know what factors are going to play a role in if the fetus is going to develop with female sex appearing genitalia or male sex appearing genitalia and stuff like that. But yeah, that should be it. I know I don't go into much detail on this, but this is just to give you guys a general idea of like how to build your study notes and stuff like that, or what to like grow up upon. I will try to link some of those videos to help you guys study a little better, and like hopefully those are a little bit more easier. I know sometimes students can get a little overwhelmed with the menstrual cycle, so I'll try to show some videos with that, just because female reproductive goes a lot more into detail. There's a lot more going on within there than in male reproductive. But yeah.